Hi, I'm Amy Corr, Chief Brokerage Officer of @Properties Christie's International Real Estate, and you're listening to Corr Values, a podcast where we talk about real estate and real life. As someone who's worn many hats, agent, managing broker, coach, executive, and mom, I know the hustle is real. So I'm sitting down with industry leaders and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories, strategies, and values that fuel real success. From being the CEO of your own business to figuring out how to show up for your people, we're covering it all. There's a lot of buzz around AI right now, and my guest today is right in the middle of it. Jim Olson is the CEO of Lantern, a company that helps all types of organizations integrate AI into their business. Full disclosure, he also happens to be my big brother. And whenever we get together, we nerd out about all things AI. In this episode, we'll dig into how agents should be thinking about AI, ways to use it more effectively, and how to stay relevant as the technology keeps evolving. Be sure to stick around for Rapid Fire, where you just might learn some things about me that only family would know. All right, I am so excited, Jim, that you are on Corr Values, my big brother. Whoever would have thought, I'm going to date us now, 25 years ago when we were sitting around the kitchen table, that I would be interviewing you today. I love it.
Worst nightmare. Here we go.
I love it. I feel like you're probably more nervous than I am, which is so exciting for me. I've got to be honest.
This is a setup. I can feel it.
All right, well, let's get into it. I want to start off with talking about your background, because a lot of the people who are listening in today, while I know you dearly, don't know you. This is their first opportunity to meet Jim Olson. So before we dive into all things AI, for our listeners out there, they want to hear a little bit about your journey. What led you to where you are today as CEO of Lantern?
Well, first, thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here, and this is a career moment, certainly being on your podcast. So let's on the journey. It's a long journey. I'm older than she is, everybody, so it's a very long journey. But I'll just start with where I am now. So I'm the CEO of a company called Lantern. So the privilege of leading a team of consultants that are out, helping clients modernize their technology. And we're right smack in the middle of this AI extravaganza that's going on right now that everybody's excited about, moderately worried about, or otherwise. And so, but it started in the Bay Area. I grew up right next to Amy in the San Francisco Bay Area and went through college and took my first job and got involved in technology right away. In the Bay Area in 1992, you get involved in technology right away. And then I moved to the East Coast and ended up winding through a career that got me involved in Microsoft technology and got me involved in consulting, which is this amazing kind of business model where you get to help other companies figure out how to apply technology to solve business problems. And it's an often misunderstood industry or profession, but technology consulting has really been an awesome platform for me to do what I love to do. On the personal front, I moved to the East Coast. I met a girl. I have a mortgage and 3 kids on Long Island. Those 3 kids call you Auntie Amy, and I'm blessed by having a lot of love on the New York side of the house, and then also love to get back to the Bay Area to visit home as well. So so much about my journey, but for everyone else, that's a little bit about how I've gotten to where I am today.
Yes, and he kept it clean, people. He kept it clean. But no, you have had an amazing journey, and I've had the opportunity to watch it, kind of almost following you because I'm a few years behind, but just seeing what you've been able to accomplish. And when I've gone out to visit you, which has been a couple times, we sort of nerd out and start having conversations about business. I help you learn a little bit more about the world of real estate, and you've always helped me figure out what this tech thing is, what I should be paying attention to in my role. And, as you've moved into this exciting role as CEO of Lantern, where you're focusing on AI and, helping companies and organizations figure out what that looks like for themselves, for their employees, for the clients they're servicing, saying, we've always had healthy banter in your backyard. And I've loved it because even just the little nuggets you've given me have allowed me to start thinking about AI in my own personal workspace and with all of our agents a little bit differently. So, I know you work with organizations of all sizes and not necessarily even real estate. In fact, I think, I've had to kind of fill you in on the real estate perspective of things. You're integrating AI into their businesses. As agents, we're looking at AI on kind of a much smaller scale. Each agent runs their own business, and they either are working as individuals or maybe they have teams. But I wanted your perspective as people who are starting to dabble in AI and figuring out, how do I use this in my day-to-day business? How should our agents be thinking about it? What are some of the, perspectives you can give for our people out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a distributed and widely accessible technology at this point, and I think that's what's brought so many people into this technology conversation, because AI, with the launch of ChatGPT and some of these other tools, I mean, it's front and center. It is a day-to-day thing, and whether you consider it friend or foe, it's not going away. And I think every industry has a potential to apply this technology in different ways. And you're right, I don't know your industry as well, anywhere near as well as you do. But what's good is that, your agents, right, people in your business, they know their business. And, it's really fundamentally about personal productivity, but it's also can be ways to streamline and simplify how their core business workflows are working. We call these things use cases in our business. Like, what are the use cases? How do you try to solve business problems day to day? Whether you're researching, again, I'll attempt to understand your world a little bit. Whether you're researching, features of a particular neighborhood because you've got a listing or showing coming up, or you're trying to understand what are the recent transactions in a zip code or a particular part of a community. A big one is preparing marketing collateral, for showings. Like these are things that, AI can really make a big impact, I think, in terms of your ability to get, up to speed on a particular, community or getting ready for a listing. And these are really core business things. AI shouldn't be something else that you're doing. AI and the way you apply it in everyday, work life should be helping you accelerate and be more productive in the core business use cases that you're otherwise doing. And I think it's just what makes it hard is it's about, taking this new technology and having it modify the way that you've been doing your business for years and years. But these business workflows, they can be enhanced with AI. And importantly, your productivity can be accelerated, with AI. And there's lots of ways to talk about how to do that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, are there any tools or things that you're seeing? I think you understand enough of what, some of these individuals are trying to do as agents to be, as you said, more productive. I will say ChatGPT is my friend, not my foe. At first I was, deciding, do I really need to use it? And now I'm just finding little ways where it helps me move things through faster, as simple as an email that I've drafted, and it helps me make sure that what I send is exactly what I need. To your point, a lot of our agents are using it for listing descriptions, right? When they're selling a house, they'll make sure that the listing sounds great and they can put it through ChatGPT. I think some people might say AI is ChatGPT, but I know that there are other tools. And so I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, as people are getting more AI curious of other ways. I just used or tried a tool called Gamma, I think it is, because I was trying to take a PowerPoint presentation and basically make it look a whole lot better. And it blew me away. It didn't get it perfect, but it took me 85% of the way there. So what are some tools that you're seeing, right now that people are using to become more productive beyond ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. ChatGPT is now a household name. It's something that's 3 years old, in terms of the official public launch of that particular platform. And it just really started this whole wave. And now there's all of these competitors and other even big companies that have embedded AI into their kind of core tools. Like my tool of choice is Microsoft Copilot.
Mhm.
which has got the same, chatbot features and capabilities. Maybe you would recognize the rainbow icon that is maybe on your browser, or if you use Microsoft Office tools, that rainbow Copilot icon is everywhere. Um, and some of these experiences are free, and even when you do a search in your Google search engine, like
Yeah.
some of the results that are coming back are actually AI results, so people are using AI even if without even knowing they're using AI. So there are some specialty tools out there. Gamma is one. There's another one called Canva AI, which is really good at creating collateral, and so
Mm.
more of the creative stuff.
Mhm.
And my feedback for all the people I interact with is, don't be perfect at using AI before you start using AI. You've really got to. It's a craft. It's a skill set. You have to use these tools, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Copilot, whether it's some of these, creative tools. Beginning the journey of using them and discovering what's working. And like you said, you get 85%. Let's just say that's true. Let's just say you got 85% of the way on a 4-hour effort. That's
Mhm.
massive personal productivity savings, right?
Yeah.
And then the question is, what do you do with the free time? What do you do
Yeah.
with the extra time? That's a deeper discussion about how people need to think about applying these tools and, getting the rewards of
Mhm.
using these tools. And also we always say there's a carrot and a stick. There's a great incentive to use these tools because it allows you to save time doing some maybe more valuable, things.
Mhm.
But what are your competitors doing, right?
Mhm.
If you're not doing it and everybody else is, now you're falling
Right.
behind. So whether you're a leader or you're a laggard, you're one or the other probably, right? And so, I think we're sort of past the point where using AI for at a minimum personal productivity is kind of optional, because you probably fall behind, and that's not an agent thing or a real estate thing. That's an every business user in every industry thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we are talking a lot about it. I mean, AI is it's the big buzzword at the water cooler. Thad, our co-CEO, is really big into, I mean, he's talked to all of us about how do you use it, to your point, to be more efficient and to be able to, get your productivity up, or be able to spend time on things that are much more valuable and that need your brain input differently than some of the other things that you're spending time on. And so I think we are kind of going through this evolution as a company. I think agents are doing it. And I think one of the things that I loved when I was out visiting you probably about a month and a half ago, and it was an aha for me. We were talking about it, because a lot of people are using AI, and I use it. I use ChatGPT to draft stuff. And, sometimes I would get things back, and I know a lot of people do. And now we kind of laugh because sometimes you can say, they totally put that into ChatGPT and sent that email. And, yes, it creates efficiency, but you don't want it to remove authenticity of who you are and what your voice is. And so what I loved is you talked about ways to make AI work for you, and it isn't, Amy, what you said to me, what the output is. It is more about your input. So I want you to talk about that and share a little bit more of what you said to me, because for me, it changed everything. It's now how I'm focusing on what I'm giving to it so I get what I want.
Yeah, I mean, they call this whole thing prompting, right?
Mhm.
This word prompting has been pretty widespread now, and it's classic garbage in, garbage out. If you're prompting with a generic question, you're going to get an open-ended response that isn't particularly differentiated,
Mhm.
or maybe getting you to the right place. And a lot of people throw in the towel at that point. But I think it's the precision and the quality and the specificity of the prompt that's going to lead to a much more refined, response or answer. And the other thing is, these things aren't one and done.
Mhm.
You kind of have to understand how memory works with these chatbots. They don't have long-term memory. They don't remember maybe what you prompted, 2 years ago. Um, but they do remember the context of that prompting window, that session. And so instead of doing the one and done prompt, and it's okay if you have an imperfect prompt to start. You don't
Mhm.
have to have spend all weekend thinking about the magic prompt that's going to win the day. Just begin a kind of conversation, and you can add additional layers to that conversation throughout that chatbot session. And you can, for example, add additional context to it. You can ask you can ask the AI to do it again, like
Yes.
redo it. I didn't like your response, and let me tell you why I didn't like it.
Yes.
That sort of conversation, if you will, is where all that context comes from, and it has memory, short-term memory within the context of that session to
Mhm.
understand what how you started the conversation and the additional things that you're adding to it, whether it be challenges, whether it be an additional clarifying prompt, whether it be data. You can actually say, okay, I want you to respond now to the question or the prompt that I put forward, but I want you to do it while also taking into consideration this file or this other listing that I found, or this spreadsheet that has MLS data in it. I don't know, your industry better than me, but think of it as a mini conversation with someone who's like an accessible researcher who's sitting right next to you, and you're just feeding it additional things within the context of that session, because you don't have to get it right at first, but over the course of time, if you're prompting and layering with additional prompts, you're going to get some fairly incredible output that is either going to deliver insights to you, it's going to deliver potentially content that you're using, whether it be email content or presentation content. It'll in one form or another likely change what you're going to do next in your business workflow. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, and it's interesting because I now am doing that, right? I am now, to your point, it's like I have a conversation with AI, and I'll throw something out. And what I liked about you sharing that with me is I was doing exactly that. I was focusing on, gosh, what am I going to tell it so I get exactly what I want? And I was focusing on that very first sentence or conversation that I was putting in there. Now I just throw something in, see what it gives me back. And sometimes what it gives me back kind of on the fly gives me the idea of, oh, actually, I kind of want to dig a little deeper here. And so, to your point, it has really kind of become a conversation. And then the other thing is, how do people make sure that AI can really start understanding one's tone or voice? Like, I think it's starting to pick that up for me, but I'd love to know that, like, whenever I put something in and I put in some prompts, that it automatically knows that Amy's voice is upbeat, not too serious, but professional enough. Like, how do we make sure that I do that or have that set up so that it's always coming back kind of in a tone and a voice that's really like me?
Well, there's lots of free versions of AI, like ChatGPT has a free version. Microsoft Chat or Copilot Chat from Microsoft is free, and they kind of have like prompt limits. And so for people who are becoming more active, you sort of reach a threshold where you have to pay a monthly fee. I think ChatGPT is $20 per user per month or something like that. And that's where you can get into kind of in a paid version of AI, you can get more long-term memory,
Mhm.
and you can give it access to a wider set of data that you're comfortable giving it access to, that can kind of understand tone, can understand the voice of.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, personally, if I'm honest, I don't rely, even though I use AI every day and in lots of different contexts, I don't rely on AI to deliver the last 15%. I rely on it to deliver the first 85. And
Yep.
my voice is always my voice, and I want that final touch up to kind of be, my voice. One thing though that, as you get you'll discover, I think, in your workflows as you use this tool more and more, these tools, there are some things that you like that produced a particular output. You want to save certain prompts, right? And at Lantern, we have this thing called Prompt Buddy.
Mm.
And it's basically a way for not only me to remember my favorite prompts that got me to the right output, so I don't have to remember, boy, what was that thing that I said that produced that amazing wisdom.
Mhm.
Saving some of these prompts is also possible, and it's really good in a small team setting, so
Mm.
that the every employee, every agent can
Mhm.
be as armed with the best prompts as the team as a whole. So
Mhm.
like sharing prompts about what's working when you're working in a small business operation, or when you're working as a team of agents, can be really powerful. But I think truthfully, getting AI to deliver a message out to a consumer, a buyer, a seller, with your tone, I think it's too much to ask for, actually. And I think this kind of in some ways talks about, well, where's the agent's role in terms of that last mile to the human,
Yeah.
But I think that 85% head starter, as far as you can get, is crucially important these days. Because
Yeah. It's
if you're
incredibly
not doing it and everybody else is, then you're probably falling behind, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is incredibly impactful. And I do appreciate that because I do think we have to put the last 15% in because it is that, unique value piece of us that you don't want to lose. I also love the idea because we do have a lot of teams. And, I think for productivity and efficiency, especially for a team lead who wants to make sure their brand, their message, their tone can emulate throughout their entire group of agents that are, working with them, that's a great thing for them to do something like a prompt buddy or, kind of creating a catalog, I suppose, right, of prompts that have been used and saving them. So I think that's a great way for, like you said, a small group to be able to do that. So I kind of have a question a little bit different. I want to talk about the kind of the future of AI because, I think there is this tactical piece that, yes, we can go into chat, GPT, we can, help our workflow and be more efficient. But then there's the broader scale of what the heck is going on in the world as it relates to AI. I was looking for a new haircut. I don't know if you noticed, I chopped a few inches. And when I was looking for some inspiration photos, I pulled some up on Pinterest. And Molly, your niece, said, "Mom, those are all AI generated." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I like the haircut." And there was an ad on TV, and she was like, "This is an AI ad." So it's like, where are we seeing AI going? And what are sort of the guardrails for AI? Because at some point, I don't want to be watching a TV show where I don't know, is it Tom Cruise or is it an AI version of Tom Cruise, right? So tell me what your thoughts are, kind of looking at the bigger picture of AI and what you're doing with big companies and looking at big vision and implementation and integration.
Yeah, I think as consumers, we see a lot of this AI, both imagery and language. And what's really amazing, I think, in this most recent sort of technology innovation around AI is this idea of large language models. It basically, technology has figured out how to sound like and look like or mimic some human-like behaviors. Like the command of language is what's really mind-blowing about this last 3 years of AI. But AI actually isn't new,
Mm-hmm.
and AI as a technology is decades long. And so my mind goes to, it's a little bit more about, evolution than revolution. Although I think what this most recent breakthrough around the language models has really kind of changed the game in ways that are more widely understood by, I'll say, the community, the world at large. So we're all getting exposed to it. But what's also true is that when you have, all of this, whether it's fake imagery or whether, you're getting a message from someone and you're not sure if it's a human or, it's an AI engine that created an email. I mean, isn't that an amazing opportunity for differentiation,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you have to kind of think about, like, how do you differentiate? Like, what is your value proposition in whatever business, whatever industry you're in? For agents, like, how do you differentiate? Do you differentiate because you are world class? Your superpower is creating marketing collateral. Well, that may be true, but now you're competing with AI tools that are creating incredible marketing collateral.
Right.
And so, if on the other hand, your superpower is really all about understanding nuance on how buyers are thinking about or sellers are thinking about, a transaction, understanding maybe the little things that people have as preferences. Um, I mean, to be honest, in your business, it's a very vulnerable place for it's a very vulnerable human experience.
Yes.
If you're
Yeah.
selling a home or if you're buying a home, what's involved? There's emotion, there's unforeseen circumstances, there's there's chaos from time to time, and I think it's the agent that ends up bringing sort of calm to that experience, and it's those human skills that, as long as you're not getting locked up doing things that AI can help you do, and you get
Right.
more hours back, to really invest in the human part of the experience, whether that's extra tailored emails, the last 15%, whether that be spending more time, with your buyer, spending more time with your seller. Like, if you've got more time back, where are you spending it? And I think there's huge opportunity to kind of differentiate even more in a world where people are confused, and maybe it's hard to see whether the experience is a human experience or an AI experience. I mean, that's a challenge to people who are on the human side of the spectrum, if
Right.
anyone confused my experience with that of an AI bot, then I've got to dig a little deeper, right? But there's just huge opportunity, I think, for differentiation, and to really make sure in every industry, and certainly I think in yours, that your agents are really applying more time to understand how to create calm and to be a shepherd as people are going through this vulnerable experience of buying and selling a property. And I think it's the little human things that in the end, I think that gets deals done. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think it's, the people aren't remembering the collateral being world class, although it should be, right? And they're not remembering that first email interaction, although it has to get the attention. But the way deals get done is with humans understanding the values and the priorities of other humans.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if something doesn't work out at Lantern, I think we've got a coaching spot for Jim Olson here at Properties Christie's. I love it because honestly, a lot of what you're saying is what we talk about, right? And I think one of our biggest core values as a company is relationship. And we feel like this is a relationship driven business, and it is person to person, it's human contact. And to me, you're right on. That is the it factor. That is how you differentiate. And I love it because you did hit right on for not knowing our industry probably as intimately as, others out there who are working in it every day. It is about the nuances. It is really emotional. It is anticipating what's going to happen next and being able to buffer a client from it so that it isn't as big of an impact to them because you sort of know how to manage it through. So, I love this idea. So I guess what you're really saying though, in a nutshell is, AI isn't going anywhere. It's actually been here for a long time, and to really embrace it because it's going to continue to grow and integrate. And I think, should we be worried about anything, or and you're on the side of looking at big picture, are we going to be okay?
Yeah, I mean, this is a
Big
common
brother,
question.
are we going to be
Are we gonna
okay?
are we gonna make it? Are we gonna be all right? Yeah. Listen, this is a common question. Whether it's at the cocktail party or whether it's in the workplace, and they have a phrase for this in business. It's called responsible AI.
Mm-hmm.
Because in reality, and this has been true for all kinds of technologies, nuclear technologies and other technologies that have kind of transformed the way mankind has even thought about what's possible, right? And so this is a new frontier, right? And I think that, like in some of those other cases, there needs to be the right governance and there needs to be the right cooperation to ensure that humans are sort of in command. There's a really good book that actually was written by a leader who's now running Microsoft's AI division. It's called The Coming Wave, and I thought it was a really honest assessment of what can happen. So if there's any readers out there that are really into the, like, what's going to happen, I think it's a really honest assessment of where we're at, where we're going, and what are the controls that would need to be in place long term to make sure that this extremely powerful technology ultimately gets contained and managed in the right way. But it's a very disseminated technology, right? And that's why your new haircut is being compared to that of an AI bot, apparently, per Molly.
Yes.
But so it's there's unknowns. I think there's been unknowns, along the way, throughout,
All of
history as
technology.
technology innovation,
Mhm.
continues. But the one thing that's true about AI is there's a lot of commercial intent behind it.
Mhm.
And what I mean is, this isn't like technology that's just in the hands of a few evil villains. It's widely distributed, and there's a lot of commercial activity woven into AI, and that creates a lot of checks and balances, actually,
Mhm.
because businesses are relying on AI, not just consumers, and in the way in which the the health of our economy goes along with how technology is applied. Those things being aligned actually create a sort of a check and balance system. But truthfully, there are some unknowns. One thing about technology innovation, though, is that it never stops.
Mhm.
And so, people for some time, it's kind of like back in the Industrial Revolution where people trying to smash all of the machines that were taking jobs away,
Yeah.
right? I mean, listen, technology innovation creates displacement of jobs. It's been doing it for hundreds of years, and this
Mhm.
is going to be no different. But it also creates new opportunities,
Right.
and emphasizing the last mile human connections and not the stuff that a machine could do is requiring us to think a little bit more deeply about where that line is drawn, But
Yeah.
it's not going away. It's going to. I personally don't have huge fear and loathing about what's to come because I have this sense that the right checks and balances are in place at the macro level, and then there'll be enough governance and other things that'll ensure we're watching this go. And it's also not an overnight thing. I know people feel like AI is about to just take over because the last 3 years have been very much filled with new innovations.
Sure.
And these chatbots are popping up everywhere, and the fake imagery and all of that. I think there'll be a little bit of a plateau, and as people are trying to figure out how not to just create companies that are called AI companies and are losing lots of money, but
Yeah.
actually trying to figure out how to monetize this new technology.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And like you said, I mean, 20 years ago, people were trying to figure out what WWW meant, maybe even longer than that. So, we've got to evolve. We've certainly got to roll with it. So it'll be interesting. But I think, like myself and a lot of agents, I think we are embracing it. And I think we appreciate it's great to hear from you and kind of from your lens and your perspective, because you're seeing it on a different spot on a daily basis. So I want to shift gears, though, because you are also 2 years into being CEO of Lantern. Congratulations. I know it was an extraordinary journey for you, but we have a lot of CEOs out there. Actually, every agent is technically CEO of their own business. And we talk in a lot of our coaching and training about having the CEO mindset. So I want you to give me 2 quick tips of what you feel a CEO should be thinking about in order to be effective. And you probably are learning from your own experiences.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I became a CEO late in life. You know, I had a career working for a number of amazing companies and learned a lot of things, and then more recently decided, hey, maybe this time is a good moment for me to try and launch this new business idea. And so I am learning. I'm learning and applying not CEO experience that's lasted or spanned decades, but I'm applying a lot of other experiences I've collected that I think have kind of prepared me, to be successful in this role. I think what I've learned over the last few years is, like, don't fall in love with your first idea.
Ah,
I think it's important to remain intellectually agile and to take on new inputs and realities. Any business model is going to go through some adjustments and tweaks, but if you become too wedded to a particular thesis or belief system that you had in a moment in time, especially it's true in every industry, but in the technology industry, you're probably not going to make it. And so agility of thinking, I think, is really important, and don't fall in love with that first idea. um, Surround yourself with great people.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so true. The best team wins. And I think just continuing to find ways to add great people to your team. Those are some of the things that come to my mind.
Love it. I love it. Well, this has been great, but now we get to the really fun stuff. We're heading into rapid fire. We've got 2 rounds. All right, you ready for this, Jimmy O?
I am not,
right.
but
Too bad.
let's let her rip.
All right, so rapid fire 1 is all about AI confessions. So these are going to be your confessions as they relate to how you use AI. We know your business is all about AI, but what's something you use it for in your everyday life?
Okay, so I absolutely use AI. I mean, it's my new search engine, basically.
Okay.
And so whether it's work or life, I mean, I'll when I forget how to make a meal in the kitchen, AI is helping me either remind me what the recipe is or teach me something new about what's possible. I use it to make sure I'm choosing the right tool for a home improvement project. It helps me
He is a
validate my.
DIY guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it also helps me, like, validate my choices for the fantasy football lineup.
Okay,
Like,
there you go.
it's a fairly widely used technology in the Olson household for sure.
I love it. I love it. All right, what's the funniest or most unexpected thing you've ever used AI for?
There's a feature on Copilot Chat called, I think it's called voice mode, and I just discovered this like 5 or 6 months ago. and I use it for when I'm in the car on long drives. But you can kind of ask Copilot Chat to basically come on your your AirPlay, your car stereo system, and you're able to have a conversation with it without typing anything. And it's a voice, and it's a perfectly friendly voice. It sounds like a navigation system, except it's just having that long running chat I was talking about before in voice mode. It's pretty hilarious. And if
Yeah.
you have anybody in the car while you're having this chat, it's especially funny. But it's a good way to actually explore things that are on your mind, test ideas, um, find out little things about where you're going when you get to the destination. So voice mode on Copilot Chat is my
That would.
new friend. Yeah.
All right. Well, when I'm heading into Chicago in traffic, that's going to be my new go-to. If I peeked at your AI chat history, what's one thing that might surprise the people who know you?
You said I'm a DIY guy. I am. I like being outdoors. And so I like being in my yard, in my garden, and probably what I use AI for is actually just understanding what's growing in my backyard.
Yeah.
And there's tools where you can kind of take a clipping of a leaf or a flower, but I also use it to kind of test some what I need to pull out and what I need to put in. So if I want to feature, tree or shrub or something that flowers at the right time, I'm using AI a lot for that when I'm on the weekends in the backyard. So
I love it. I need you coming to my house because I'm usually, if I'm taking a picture of anything, it's a dead tree in the corner that usually has to be removed. And then I'm like, what won't die that I can replace it with? All right. So now rapid fire round 2 is called Core Truths. And this is where you're going to maybe flip the script a little bit on things and have everybody learn a little something about Amy Corr and what she was like growing up. So you ready for this?
are you ready for this?
I don't know. I don't know if I am. All right. So why don't you tell everybody out there what your favorite nickname for me was growing up?
Listen, there are too many nicknames to remember over the years for you, including some I don't dare say on your podcast. Uh, but I think I remember, and I liked the pigtails and braces era for Amy. And so, we were the Brady Bunch family, so I liked calling you Cindy Brady because we had the 3 boys and the 3 girls, and you were the last girl, Cindy. So that's one of the cleaner nicknames I think I can share on Amy TV.
Yes, yes. All right. You got to weigh easy on that one. All right. So between the two of us, who got in more trouble as a kid, you or me?
I think I got you beat there. We are truthfully we were both pretty good kids, and I think we were, especially compared to the other 4 renegade siblings that were real troublemakers. So I'm clearly you and I were the golden children of the six.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I love it. Who's more competitive?
You are more competitive.
Are you sure?
Yes, yeah, you were very competitive, and whether it's losing a game, playing a game, there was anger that went with your competitiveness. I still have torn ligaments in my fingers and welts on my back from some tough competition in the backyard, or when the ribbing got a little too intense. So, yes, you are the most competitive.
All right. All right. So we do have a big family. You just alluded to our Brady Bunch style. How would you describe my role in the family compared to yours? You alluded to Cindy Brady, but do tell.
I Well, I think my role in the family was probably, at least at times, peacemaker. Why
Mhm.
can't we all get along? Like, I think your role actually as the fifth in the lineup was primarily to just not lose little brother Michael. That was your role in the family,
It's
which
true.
actually was kind of a big
Hard
job,
to do.
and it wasn't completely successful, as I recall, a few times.
Yes, we had some difficult moments. We
Glad
did.
Michael
Yes.
made it back to the herd.
Oh gosh. Sorry, Michael. All right. This is a great question. What's something about me that would surprise our agents?
Uh, Actually, I don't think that there's a lot. that I could come up with. I mean, look, listen, the best part about you is what you see is what you get with Amy, and it's maybe one of the things that I admire about you, and the fact that you're doing this podcast, I think, is amazing, and it's brilliant, and it's a perfect fit, and we're all super proud of you. So I don't, here she is. This is Amy. What you see is what you get. So I don't think I got anything that you haven't either already shared or you're going to by the time this podcast unfolds.
You're too nice. You're playing way too nice on this. All right. So last one. One of my go-to phrases at work is "you've got this." What's something you hear me say all the time around family?
I think what I hear you say all the time around family is "I'll call you tomorrow." And then when you see Amy tomorrow, she says, "Well, I'm not going to call you today. I said I'd call you tomorrow." so I think I'll call you tomorrow is the go-to for Amy. It's always great to get her, but it'll probably be tomorrow.
Oh my God. Couldn't be. You're so right. You're so right. But I mean well. Oh my gosh. Oh, this has been so fun, Jim. I appreciate so much you coming onto the podcast, kind of taking some time being in my world. I've loved sharing you with at Properties Christie's and all of our agents out there. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. I hope you loved my brother Jimmy as much as I love him. Hope you learned a ton about AI, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Corr Values. Thanks for listening to this episode of Corr Values. If you loved the episode, be sure to hit the follow button so you don't miss the next one. You can also connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn for more insights on all things real estate and real life. And always, as a friendly reminder, you got this.